It's been since I've made 9 Inch Nails content. I need to fix that. On this day in 1989, Trent Reznor released Pretty Hate Machine under the moniker 9 Inch Nails, and for those who don't know, if you're new to the channel, this is my favorite album of all time. So I figured to celebrate its release, why not rank all of the songs on the album from worst to best? I've talked about the album itself in a multitude of iterations, whether it be in its own video or in a discography review, but I've never done this. And I did this last year with Rush's Moving Pictures in tribute to Neil Peart. So I figured we're doing channel celebrations. That's a thing I really like, so let's talk about it for X amount of minutes. Same rules as that Rush video, worst to best, or least to most favorite, because there isn't a bad song on Pretty Hate Machine in my opinion. While it's kind of a punching bag on the record because of the rapping, and me putting it on the bottom I know doesn't do it any more favors, Down In It is still a song that I really enjoy. It's one of a handful of songs on Pretty Hate Machine that are about a failing relationship, you know, being up above it before being down in it. I appreciate that sentiment. I like the turn of phrase on it. I think the sampling on the track is honestly one of the better attributes of the song. I dig that chorus sample that's in the chorus that gets kind of scratched up a little bit with the guitar that just punches in on there as well. I think the instrumental backdrop of the song is incredible. I don't mind the rapping. It is very late 80s, early 90s style, but I think Trent wears it better than others. I really adore the song. It's just still my least favorite on the record as well. Fun fact about it, though, it was in a Gatorade commercial, kind of. It was a song that was used in a Gatorade commercial that kind of sounded like it, that had the same vocal production that Trent used. He didn't sue him for it, I don't believe, but he considered it at the very least. And I think that that's interesting. And not because he wanted the money, but because he didn't want them using his song. Plus, the noisy crescendo that this song reaches is fantastic. I love that the groove just keeps going while Trent's voice just gets more and more intense. It's easily one of my favorite moments on the record, even if this song sits so low in the ranking. You know, some of the things that I really like about Pretty Hate Machine are its great synth usage and melody choice and a lot of the hooks. They create almost a second hook within themselves. And that's what I get doesn't really have that. And that's why it sits at this point on the list. I still really like this song. I like the boom into the spaciousness that is the verses with the build up to the chorus of the synthetic drums that kind of come in the pre-chorus, and then the noise kind of just washes over in the chorus. I love that setup, but it's just not one of my favorite tools in Trent's arsenal on Pretty Hate Machine personally. I empathize with the lyrics about infidelity and feeling, you know, used and cheated on, and I feel like that sentiment hits really hard as well in the song itself as far as the lyrics go. I just don't think that the sonic palette is as interesting or engaging with me as the rest of the record is. Case in point, the lead synth sounds on Kinda I Want To are fantastic. Again, they create an enhancement to the hook that Trent just sells with his screams, his yearning to just do some devious shit. Rings really hard on this track. The building noise in the end is very similar to the building crescendo on Down In It, another one of that song's great moments. But Kinda I Want To is a moment where Trent creates this noisy groove and just thrives in it, and it matches that primal urge he's feeling in this song. And I really appreciate that. I love that about it. And I think that it is a great fucking example of Trent's ability to craft a good groove. Not the only instance on this record, but I really like the noisy groove at this song's core. Case in point of a synthetic melody woven into a groove, weaving incredibly well into a song that has an incredible hook. Sin! the electro dance-driven song about debaucherous lifestyles ends up at this point on the list because it is an incredible song with a great hook at its core, and again, just a lot of it's a groove that matches that seedy dirtiness that Trent's really talking about. I love this jam, and I feel like it's a great point of kicking up energy in the record that I think works incredibly well, coming off of the noise from Kinda I Want To. It's a good point to sort of just throttle the listener throughout the back half of the record that I think comes at the perfect point.
Where the devil wants to fuck me in the back of his car.
But from the throttling of Sin, I had to put The Only Time above it, if only because when this album gets groovy, man, I just really like it. That's a reason why there's another song above this one. The bass, the synth bass on this record is great, and I love how funky The Only Time is. You know, it's a song about being swept up in the excess, you know, being drunk and lustful and loving, but its chorus has this, like, other side of the coin presentation that's fantastic. You know, when talking about leads that are infectious, the synth lead that happens in, like, the second chorus or the end of the chorus is fantastic. It's such a good synth line. When the drums come in, like the drum fills that come in, it has this, like, in the air tonight feel. It's a great tune. Like, The Only Time is such an infectious groove that comes in at the best time on the record. And it serves as an incredible lead-in to the song I put above it in the ranking, the album's closer, Ring Finger, a song that immediately starts with a great synth melody with just a thudding kick. Trent comes in, talks about offerance, working, you know, working for somebody. You know, it has this chilling, haunting chorus with this whispered vocals and this, like, distorted chorus saying ring finger. It's got such jagged guitar work. You know, the guitar work that pops up on this record is jagged across the board, and that's what I love about it. But on Ring Finger, especially when the album, or when the song itself builds itself to its closing and the guitar just keeps coming in, it's so good before the distortion kind of creeps in above that to close the song and the album ultimately out. It's a great note for the album to end on, and it creates this really sort of, again, haunting, dissolving into the night in such noisy splendor.
She says, come inside out, come inside for her.
And Sanctified is the other tight, fucking groovy song that I originally had lower in this ranking, but when revisiting it really recently, the ambient sounds that creep in like the bridge and morph this groove into this darker, haunting edge is fantastic. Like the random choir, like men's Gregorian choir going off in the bridge, and the fact that those noises and ambiguity fill the mix throughout the final chorus, it creates what is initially just a tight groove-filled sound on a song about a failing relationship or a failed relationship, which bleeds really well into the next song in its track listing really well, especially with how the ambiguous noise keeps creeping, the ambience keeps creeping in throughout the tail end of the song. It's fantastic, such a good song. I love the glitchy sounds that happen in the chorus. I think that it adds to the industrial adjacent textures that Trent was toying with very, very well. I enjoy this song a lot, and I think that revisiting it reminded me of that even more so. Side note, the live version that I've been playing underneath me talking has some of the filthiest fucking bass I've heard in a Nine Inch Nails live cut, and I highly suggest you check it out. You guys know I love my bass. That's some good bass work on there, man. Now, these top three are kind of the three most popular songs I would wager from this record as far as, like, general appeal goes, because Terrible Lie is still a live staple, as is Head Like a Hole, and both have been beloved ever since this album's inception. Terrible Lie is the song that spits in the face of organized religion with a stomping beat and some really dense guitars. It sort of lays the groundwork for where a lot of Trent's sound would go in the 90s, and how his lyrics would continue to revisit this topic in the 90s. You know, Head Like a Hole is a fantastic opening track, but the fact that this is immediately the next point in the track listing just works so very well. I enjoy Terrible Lie a lot for what it does to establish Trent's personality even more so than Head Like a Hole. I enjoy Terrible Lie. I think it's still an incredibly forward-thinking song in its own right, and it's fantastic. I adore Terrible Lie for everything that it does and for everything that it is. Head Like a Hole is the biggest song from this album. It still crops up every now and again to this day, you know. Miley Cyrus covered it in Black Mirror. She also covered an underrated Nine Inch Nails song in that episode, but that's a subject for another day. Head Like a Hole is a song that transcends a lot of the Nine Inch Nails discography by and large, as far as how colossal of a song it really is. You know, Closer is that, as well as is Hurt, and Head Like a Hole was like just where he popped off initially. You know, it's got this great stuttering percussion. It's got this throttling groove at its core with some great guitars that flush in to that infectious hook that you just scream from the rafters. You know, Head Like a Hole, when he played it live, I was belting that shit because it's such a great song that just grabs the listener and forces them to hear what's going on. I enjoy Head Like a Hole a hell of a lot. I love the imagery and the lyrics. I like the remixes of it a lot. I think that it's just a classic Nine Inch Nails song. It's not my favorite, but it would be up there for one of my favorites, I would say. Something I Can Never Have is a very special song to me, though. I've covered it twice, and I'm not happy with either version. I'd love to cover it again sometime and do it even more justice. But this is... I talked about tonal shifts or deviations from a record, like heavy deviations. You know, Dare by the Gorillaz is one. This is another one. And an album with aggressive leaning, throttling, 80s as fuck, sample-filled, produced pop jams. There's a ballad in the middle that splits both halves and creates this beautiful, beautifully painful song. The main melody in this, I love so very much. The version of this song on Still is just as good. This song is easily just one of Trent's best. It's one of my favorite Nine Inch Nails songs. This is like top 3. I really love the pain in Trent's lyrics. The looming industrial sounds in the background of this song make it feel even more removed from all the harsh noise that the rest of the record has going on. Again, the fade in from Sanctified just works so well. I love this song. I think that it is perfect. I think it is a perfect song. One of the best of all time. I love how even when there's like the note change, the subtle note change in the bridge, there's also this airiness and atmospheric approach to it, the soundscape that lends even more of the removal from the industrial sounds that the record has going on. There's like birds tweeting and stuff like that before the third verse kicks in. That is just, again, those little touches that make this feel like a nugget away from everything else and a piece of pure pain that is removing the guise of all of the jagged guitars and heavy synth choices and all that sort of stuff that just really resonates hard with me. It's a great, fucking great song. This album's shining moment, and it's a break from everything else that's been going on. But it's my favorite song on Pretty Hate Machine. That's my number 1 on this list. What did you think about this list. What did you think of my ranking of Pretty Hate Machine? Let me know how you'd rank it or your favorite song on this album in the comments down below. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a like. If you want to see more of my music, gaming, and general nerdery content, be sure to subscribe. Special thanks to my patrons. If you want to join the ranks to get early access to content, exclusive content, or to help drive the community, it's linked in the description. I'm going to get out of here, though. Thank you again so very much for watching. I've been Viral Rack. You guys have good days, lives, and situations, and I'll see you another day.